everyone, and welcome back to True Crime Finding Closure. To those who are watching for the first time, my name is Juliana.
My name is Barb.
And we want to thank you and everyone else for all your support. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. This will help us continue to grow and be able to bring you more stories of true crime. Today we have a mysterious case. It's one that is very close to me. It's one of Brandi Wells. It was one of the very first cases I've researched and studied and all that kind of stuff way back when. But is one that is very fascinating and mysterious, and one that hopefully you guys will enjoy or find intriguing and interesting. Again, if you do find that you like the story and want to know more about Brandi, there's a good documentary on investigative discovery, which is on Discovery Plus, which is on Roku and Fire Stick and smart TVs. Your computer or tablets and phones can also get it as well. So it's a good documentary. It was filmed about a year after Brandi disappeared. So check it out if you can find out that you want to learn more about Brandi. It's a good thing to watch. Before we delve into this week's case, there's a couple things I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit. In my researching of cases for this show, I came across a lot of people criticizing the police for not doing certain things or not doing them fast enough or anything like that. So I wanted to touch base on that a little bit. The police have to follow a very, very thin line. They have, as you're following this, almost like a tightrope. You can either go one way or another. One, they can either put somebody innocent in jail, or they lose the person they're going after, or even if they do capture the person they're going after and they don't have all the right information, it can go into mistrial. Neither of which is a good thing. So, or, a lot of times they have to follow whatever evidence they have. It may be very little, especially in missing person cases. There is already very little to go on. So they have to follow all the information, the evidence that they have, and go and study it accordingly. As of late in our country, there's been a lot of turmoil about, police not doing their jobs or being over, racial issues and overly critical. Everybody is eligible to do crime. And those that are there to protect us, which are our police officers, aren't biased. They don't care what color skin you have. They have to do their job. And sometimes, unfortunately, they are overzealous in their job, and things happen where people have died in their custody, which is totally wrong, and I totally think that's horrible. But we also have to take sight that the person who did die was a criminal. They shouldn't have died in the way they did, and they are a human life. And I do agree with that wholeheartedly. But we do need to take a step back when we are dealing with families who have missing people or missing loved ones. Take a step back, look at the big picture before you criticize, because they only have the evidence they have at hand to be able to go on, to be able to solve these cases or to do these things. And sometimes, a friend of my dad's in Colorado would always say that, I trust my gut. And even if my gut's telling me that this person over here is the bad guy and everything like that, I can't arrest them on a gut feeling. I have to have tangible and physical evidence proving that this person is the one that committed this crime. And that's how tips and leads and physical and tangible evidence in a body that is there, or even the person themselves who has been found, can bring that bad guy to justice. And that's what they have to follow, because if they don't, so many different things could happen, and they have to stay within policy and procedure, because if they don't, it's chaos. So, before you judge, take a step back, look at the big picture, look at the evidence that they have to work with. Are they working with are they able to do anything more with the evidence they have? If not, help them find, and develop more leads. Give them information. And if you truly think that they're not doing justice to your situation, you can always go to the state police, and you can also go to your district attorney of your state. And you can say, hey, I've got this case. I'm out of whatever county it is, whatever town it is. And they would be able to confront it and look into it and see what's going on. So there's always ways of getting around it. Please be smart. Do not take the law into your own hands. We don't need, Somebody Sam out there with a gun taking the law into his own hands. Too many people, innocent people, can be hurt. So we want we want these crimes solved. We want them to be done in a legal way, not in a legal way. So please do it smart. Look at the big picture. Anyways, another thing I've also been asked a lot about is what's the difference between human trafficking and sex trafficking? And the reason I'm bringing this up for this particular one is because the case that we're going to be doing today has human trafficking may be part of the reason for her disappearance. So, but the difference is that human trafficking, the phrase, is actually an umbrella term. What I mean by that is there's human trafficking, but underneath that, there are different forms of human trafficking, from slavery to the sex trade to prostitution to escorting. So many of them can be listed under that category. Sexual trafficking, sex trafficking is, of course, one of the biggest ones. Drug trafficking is actually considered part of human trafficking. Those that are taken to be used as drug mules to get drugs over borders and things like that. So many different ways, forms of human trafficking. But yes, sadly enough, sex trafficking is probably the biggest one out of the category. So there really isn't a difference. One is just a subcategory of the other. So I hope that answers your guys' question out there. Thank you for, I can't tell the person's name, but thank you for asking that. I hope I answered your question. And again, if anybody else has any questions or curiosities, feel free to post them. Please let me know if we were allowed to, or let us know if we're allowed to use your name or handle when we're posting these. And again, if you have any other stories that you may know from your country or from your county or from your state or whatever, please bring them forward. And again, just let us know if we're allowed to use your name or handle. But on that note, let's go ahead and get started and begin, and we'll delve into this week's case. It's the mysterious disappearance of Brandi Wells from Tyler, Texas, which is about 3 hours north of where we are. It's in northeast Texas. Brandi Wells was born on November the 28th, 1982 in Tyler, Texas. She is a young woman with a deep passion for music and harbored dreams of becoming a country music artist. Her vibrant spirit and her love for melodies was a defining characteristic of her personality. In other words, according to her family and friends, she was always singing. If she was walking down the hall, in the bathroom, in the shower, in her car, wherever Brandi was, she was listening to music, singing music, playing the piano. She just loved music. And she was even part of the flag corps in high school, which helped get her a scholarship. Her journey through life took her from Chapel Hill High School in Tyler, where her academic achievements earned her a scholarship to the University of Texas in 2001. And it not just wasn't her academic, it was actually also her time on the flag corps. So, but she did attend the University of Texas in 2001. During her time at the university, Brandi's involvement in the flag corps demonstrated her dedication to pursuits beyond academics. However, her life took a significant turn in her second year when she fell in love and embarked on a marriage journey at the age of 19. The new chapter brought the challenge of balancing marriage and studies and work. And trust me, I've been there. I was going to school and working and a wife and a parent all at the same time. It is not easy to do. I've been there. So anybody who can do it, hey, more power to you. You're good at it. Anyways, with that new challenge of her new expectations in life, it ultimately led to her leaving the university. And unfortunately, the marriage did not last and ended up in a divorce. And Brandi found herself in San Antonio, which is about 4.5 hours south of Tyler. Unfortunately, the marriage didn't last, and she was there, so she went, and then she ended up settling in Brownsboro with a roommate. And Brownsboro is about 30 minutes southwest of Tyler, Texas, where her mom and family are from. At the age of 23, Brandi was determined to rebuild her life in Brownsboro. She pursued her dreams at Trinity Community College, aided by the scholarship she earned during her time with the Flag Corps. Teaching became her new goal, with the particular aspiration to become a kindergarten teacher. So she had new goals, new dreams, and she was anxious and excited to go out there and do it. And to support herself and to gain money to be able to pay her bills and things like that, she eagerly embraced work at a local Walmart, waiting for her new schedule. She was excited about that. And coincidentally, in part of this, what makes Brandi's thing so mysterious is that not only is Brandi missing, but there are two other people that are whose cases actually get entwined with Brandi's. One of that of Dana Dunn, which Barb will talk about a little bit more later, and Glenda Moorhead also, which Barb will talk about more here in a little bit, more intertwined with Brandi's. But Brandi Wells was a resilient and determined individual who pursued her dreams of music and teaching despite the various challenges in her journey of her life, including a marriage that didn't work, leaving a university. Her story is one of perseverance, resilience, and a commitment to following her passions and aspirations. However, on August 2nd, 2006, Brandi's life took a mysterious and unsettling turn. Brandi arrived at her mother's apartment as a surprise. She showed up unannounced. Her mother, Ellen Tent, has said, she was excited to see her daughter and was hoping to spend a quiet evening with her daughter, but it turned out her daughter had plans to go out with some friends dancing and invited her mom and sister along. But her younger sister said that no. Younger sister Georgia said, no, I'm not going to go. I'm not feeling too well. So she didn't end up going. Her mom said no, she couldn't go either. She had a long day at work. This is like a Thursday night. She's like, I'm just going to sit here and rest. So it was about 8 p.m. that evening. Brandi asked her mom if she could use her mother's car, but her mom said, because Brandi's car was low on gas. And her mom said no, because her car was low on gas as well. So she decided anyways to still go and decided to take her own car and left the apartment. She said goodbye to her mom, and that was the last time that Ellen would see her daughter. Ellen believed that she was going to a local club called Electric Cowboy there in Tyler, Texas. Brandi set out for what was expected to be a typical night of revelry and fun, very normal of college students at that time, and even today. Brandi's first stop that night was at a local bowling alley where a very close family friend, Jeanette Green, who was a bartender there, who was like her mom's best friend and almost like a godmother or second mother to Brandi, was where she worked as a bartender. And while there, Brandi bought a drink, a cherry vodka sour, which she put on her mom's tab, and told Jeanette that she was planning on heading to Grand Central Station, located about 45 minutes away in Longview, Texas. Given the distance and the fact that she was alone, Jeanette tried to dissuade Brandi because 2 decades earlier, sitting on the very same bar stool that Brandi was currently sitting on, talking to Jeanette about doing the exact same thing that Jeanette's best friend Glenda Moorhead did, who disappeared just like Brandi 20 years earlier. Barb over here will tell you a little bit about Glenda and what happened to her. Barb?
Glenda Moorhead was last seen outside Proud Mary's, a club on Highway 69 North in Tyler, Texas, on March 18, 1988. Her sky blue 75 Chevy truck was found with her purse, wallet, and ID. Her keys were in the ignition, and the headlights were on. The driver's window was down a couple of inches, and the investigators found one of her shoes and a trail of blood, but no other evidence. They had a possible suspect, but he committed suicide in 2013 before they could truly determine his connection with her disappearance. Police did suspect foul play, but with no other leads, the case went cold. Glenda Moorhead was declared legally dead in 1999. Now, 20 years later, we can only imagine Jeanette's trepidation hearing Brandi chattering about her plans for the evening, echoing Glenda's similar but tragically ill-fated night out.
Yeah, so I can only imagine how she felt hearing, Brandi sitting there on the same stool, talking about the same stuff that Glenda did, but right before Glenda disappeared. And little did she know, she apparently had an instinct or a feeling that something bad was going to happen because she, was warning she was warning Brandi and was concerned about Brandi, and she was trying to raise them to Brandi. But Brandi's determination to get to Grand Central Station, come high or hell water, she was going to go, she remained unshaken. She was determined to go. No matter what anybody said, no matter what concerns or what arose, she was going to go. She bid Jeanette farewell and walked out the door for the last time, or what would be the last time that Jeanette would see her and anybody else would see her. and headed to Grand Central Station, a 45-minute drive taking I-20 from Tyler, Texas to Longview. And so those of you who don't know Texas, I-20 is a long interstate road that goes east to west in the northern part of Texas. And it leads from Dallas, Texas, which is right north central Texas, and leads all the way east through Tyler, through Longview, into Fayette, and then eventually into the northern part of Louisiana. So that was kind of where she was. This would be the Grand Central Station would be the last known place where Brandi was. According to the patrons, she was seen there talking to several people. She had a drink. She seemed to be happy, but yet a little bit concerned. She was asking people for help with gas money or a ride back to Tyler. She was seen leaving out the main door, but what happens next, unfortunately, nobody knows. She just walked out the door and disappeared. What we do know is the following day, a highway state trooper made a chilling discovery. Around 9:15 a.m. on August the 3rd, 2006, a highway state trooper noticed a 2000 black Pontiac Grand Prix abandoned on the side of Interstate 20. And this was like westbound. So it was basically in the direction heading back to Tyler. He ran the license plate, and upon finding no records of it being stolen, and there was no signs of struggle, no blood or anything in it, he closed the door, he tagged it, and then he drove away. Now, a lot of people are criticizing the police for not going further and, having the car hauled in and getting it checked out. In Texas and in most states in this country, the police have to wait around 48 hours, between I think it's like 32 and 48 hours or something like that, before they can actually move a vehicle, because they need to give the people who own the vehicle time to get the tires placed, gas in the car, whatever the situation, find a way to rectify it. Sometimes people pull on the side of the road and call of nature and run out into the trees. Who knows?
That poor guy comes back out of the forest and his car's gone.
So they have to wait before they can do anything. Now, obviously, if there is something nefarious, or they see blood, or there are signs of a struggle, or something like that, then yes, they can take the next step and consider it a crime scene, and run the plates and do all that kind of stuff to figure out who this is and figure out what's going on. So, but in this particular case, there was no sign of anything nefarious or anything wrong. Yeah. So they were able to, say, okay, we're just going to tag it and come back in 48 hours. If it's still here, then we can get it towed. So that's pretty much what police have to do. So, that's why there's a lot of criticism of the fact that they didn't do anything prior, but they couldn't because of state policy and procedures. At 9:30 a.m., Ellen woke to find Brandi not home yet from her night out. She wasn't alarmed because assuming her daughter had too much to drink and was staying with a friend. Like most college students, when they drink too much, they end up at their friend's house, passed out on their couch or something. So she wasn't concerned because Brandi apparently had done that before, and nothing. No, there's no worries or anything. But later that day, and as the day progressed, Brandi's roommate called Ellen, asking if Brandi was at the apartment. She had been expected back in Brownsboro that afternoon, and she hadn't returned yet, and nobody had heard from her. So that's when Ellen called her daughter's cell phone, but it went straight to voicemail. At this point, she wasn't too worried about Brandi's whereabouts, because, again, she could be sleeping it off, things like that. So there's some concern in there, but not overly concerned because, this is a college kid who went out partying. Who knows? And it's also still summertime, so you don't know. And, so on August 4th, when Ellen still couldn't reach her daughter, but by late that evening of the 3rd and into the 4th, Ellen's fear started to heighten, and she continued to call her daughter over and over again, and it continued to go to voicemail. And she left messages after messages after messages and was unable to get contact with Brandi. So on the 4th, Ellen, who after she couldn't reach her daughter, went to the Tyler Police Department to report her missing. It was there that she learned from her youngest daughter, Georgia, that Brandi had gone to Grand Central Station and not the Electric Cowboy like she assumed. Upon learning Brandi's plans, Ellen drove to Longview to search the club's parking lot in the surrounding area. However, she was unable to uncover any clues or Brandi herself as to what happened to her. So she had to return back to Tyler empty-handed. On August the 5th, Ellen was informed that the Longview Police Department would be taking over the case and that she would need to file a new police report with Longview. But it was within the next 24 hours when things really changed in the case, and this went from maybe a kid not calling her mom or responding to, we may have a missing person here. There's something maybe more to this. Because on the morning of August 6th, the police received a call from a citizen driver. In other words, it was a driver that was on I-20 and said, hey, this car has been on the side of the road, and was reporting it. And the car they reported was the 2000 black Pontiac Grand Prix, which was still on the side of I-20 westbound, 500 yards or so from where you exit off Farm to Market 2087, which was exit 591 FM 287, which exits onto FM 2011 to eventually to westbound I-20, the road that Brandi would have taken back to Tyler, Texas. After they got that report, they ran the car, and they found out that this was Brandi's car and was connected to Brandi. When this happened, they knew, we've got more going on here. So on August 8th, a CSI and cadaver dogs were called to the scene, but the dogs weren't able to pick up on the missing woman's scent. Investigators weren't able to find any sign of a struggle near or around the car, but the police did notice a napkin inside that had a man's name and number on it. The name and number have not been released or disclosed. However, the police have contacted the man and found him to be forthcoming with the interaction that he had with Brandi the night she went missing. He informed them that he had offered to buy her a drink, but she declined and asked for some gas money. Not long after, they parted ways. Police don't consider him to be a suspect in Brandi's disappearance. In need of extra help, the Longview Police Department called in the FBI to help aid in the search. Further examination of Brandi's car raised police and FBI's suspicions. The driver's seat had been pushed all the way back, indicating that someone much taller than Brandi, who was only a mere 5 foot, had been driving the vehicle. The position of the car, which was found at an angle with its keys missing and the driver's door ajar, was approximately 400 or 500 yards from the exit that would have brought the missing woman back towards Tyler. Brandi's purse was also found in the car, along with the cell phone that at first was believed to be hers. A red gas can was found in the trunk, but her family doesn't believe it was hers, and later it was determined that it was actually not Brandi's. So there was a lot of things that the police discovered in and around Brandi's car that, heightened suspicion that something nefarious may have happened. But also, you could also say, well, maybe she pushed it back or something fell under the seat or something and she had to push it back to get to it. And then, but it doesn't explain the open door, doesn't explain the red gas can. There's just a lot of pieces that are unexplained that are kind of suspicious and did alert the authorities that something bad may have happened to Brandi. But the police then turned to Grand Central Station surveillance footage to see if they could spot Brandi. They noticed her driver's license had been swiped around 10:44 p.m. on August the 2nd. Family was brought in to try and identify Brandi on the footage. From those on the footage, they picked out a woman that they believed to be her. She had been accompanied by a couple of men, and a public plea was sent out for any information as to their identities of the men that were seen in the picture, the video. While talking to those who were working at Graham Central Station on the night that Brandi went missing, police learned that she had called the club multiple nights for directions, had ordered only one drink while there, and was asking people for gas money. 10 days later, Brandi's mother gave investigators a sample of her daughter's DNA that they had requested. While she was there, she noticed the cell phone that they had in evidence was not Brandi's, but in fact that of an ex-boyfriend who had been deployed overseas in Iraq. The news about the cell phone explained to investigators why only a few of those in its address book knew who Brandi actually was. And this again was another criticism that why didn't the police know that wasn't Brandi's? Why didn't they check? Yes, maybe they should have asked the mom or the family if this had been Brandi's cell phone, but also at the same time they looked inside the car and it was next to her purse. It was the only phone that they found, so it was a pretty good assumption that from their point of view, that was Brandi's phone. So you really can't criticize them on their assumption when it was the only phone in the car and it was right next to her purse. And they did try to investigate right away with that cell phone. Little did they know that it was not her cell phone. Not long after Brandi's cell phone records were subpoenaed, not wanting to wait for the subpoena, Brandi's family contacted her friend who shared the cell phone contract with Brandi and asked her to send over the records. It was discovered that prior to Brandi's disappearance, there was no suspicious activity. However, 9 days after Brandi's disappearance, there were calls made that lasted 1 to 2 minutes at most, and that particular thing raised a lot of suspicions with police and investigators, because a lot of times drug dealers, when they are making their calls, it's, I'm here, click, I'm 2 blocks away, click, very quick, sharp phone calls. And they do that so they cannot be tracked. So this looked like, and because there were so many of them, I think there was like 30 or 40 of these calls, if not more, on the record. So that was suspicious of a drug dealer using Brandi's phone for not good activities. They ended up tracing the calls, and they were traced to 2 individuals who were brought in for questioning, which led investigators to a potential person of interest, a man who claimed to have found a cell phone on the side of the road when he heard beeping sounds about a week after Brandi went missing. Now, I have a little problem with this scenario because at the time that Brandi went missing, that week following, there was a lot of rainstorms that swept through Texas. And if, in fact, it was out in the elements like this man claims, and the rain hit it, the phone would have been damaged. So there's no way that it could have been beeping. That, and if it was still alive and active, the battery would have been dead in the time that Brandi's been disappearing. So there's a lot of, I don't think so, Tim, in there, vicious. But the area which is located to the south side of town was near where Brandi's car had been abandoned and is known for drug and sex trafficking. So it's almost like a triangle. So like the top is where the phone was found. Down here is where Grand Central Station was, and then over here is where her car was. And they were all within like 5 miles of each other. I mean, very, very, very close. And where her phone was supposedly found was in the south side of town, where a lot of the sex trafficking and drug trafficking are known to be or speculated to be. The man gave multiple and varying accounts of how he came upon the cell phone. He never had a direct answer or a surefire story. It was, oh, it was this, oh, maybe it was that. It was never, a concrete story he could tell that seemed legit. He was offered an FBI-administered polygraph test. At first he denied, then he would later take one, and he failed miserably. The 2 individuals that were first brought in by the investigators were administered polygraph tests and passed. But the man who had her phone is currently considered a person of interest in Brandi's disappearance. There's just the fact he failed his polygraph test and things like that. But they have him under surveillance. They keep out watching him. Hopefully, maybe he'll lead them to Brandi, and whatever happened to her, we only will know. Only time will tell on that. While the investigation was going on, Brandi's family set out to do everything they could do to keep the case in the public eye. They sent out chain mails, frequently contacted local newspapers, television stations, lots of true crime TV shows that were coming out, like Dateline, 2020, and then, of course, the Disappeared episode from Investigative Discovery Channel. Approximately 6 weeks into the investigation, the leads were trying to dry up and the case eventually went cold. In the hopes of reviving the investigation, Ellen looked at surveillance footage from the Grand Central Station and discovered that the girl that had been initially ID'd as Brandi wasn't her daughter. And it was possibly identified as the burning body victim, Dana Dodd, which Barb will go into in a little more detail in a few minutes here. They realized it wasn't Brandi because she wasn't wearing the same clothes that Brandi had been seen wearing as she left her mom's house, her apartment that evening, and that was a floral blouse and dark pants and some black sandals. She was last seen wearing them when she left the apartment on August the 2nd. Brandi's aunt and uncle also reviewed the footage and spotted Brandi, who was seen entering the club at 10:35 p.m. She had initially been mis-ID'd due to the surveillance camera's timestamp being off by, I think it was like 10 or 15 minutes, something like that. Brandi was seen entering the club alone and then leaving around 12:30 a.m. the same way. So she was there. We've got her on footage, seeing her at the club. You see her checking in, you see her wandering on the club, talking to the other patrons, asking for fuel. So we have that photo evidence, and then we see her walk out, out of shot, out of the front door, and disappear. I mean, it's literally, she's never seen from or heard from again. There was a cowboy that followed her out. The police, in the time since, the police have tried to locate him to verify if he knew anything about it, and it is speculated that he didn't know and was cleared. Still speculation. It hasn't been confirmed or denied by local authorities in Longview. Given the direction that the camera was pointed at the entrance, it is unknown what happened to her beyond the camera's gaze. A haunting enigma that has persisted for years. Despite their tireless work, the case remains frustratingly elusive, marked by mysterious remains, false leads, and potential sightings that offer tantalizing hope, but ultimately led nowhere. On September 19th, 2006, Brandi's family contacted the Laurel Recovery Center, a group dedicated to helping find missing people. The group set up a search of the area around Graham Central Station on September the 26th, 2006. With the use of volunteers on horseback, four-wheelers, cadaver dogs, and people on foot, were also brought in, but unfortunately nothing was found. On December the 23rd, a second search for Brandi was conducted by the Laurel Recovery Center, and a bag of bones was found, but was later determined it belonged to some form of animal. And a third and final search was done in early 2007, and again, nothing was found. In 2010, Ellen received a call from a man who called himself Tim, claimed Brandi was alive and well and living in Kansas City. However, the call disconnected before she could gather any more information, and the gentleman named Tim never called back. There's also been sightings of Brandi in various other states, and I think even up as far up as Canada, and I think even down in Mexico. So, but none of them have panned out, and Brandi still remains missing. As leads grow cold and various theories emerge to explain Brandi's disappearance, some speculate that it might have been a carjacking gone wrong, possibly linked to the adjustment of the driver's seat in the car. Others have suggested the possibility of foul play following a plea of gas money. The darkest shadow, though, cast over this case is the potential involvement of abduction into sex trafficking, fueled by the area's very, very strong reputation. At one point, hopes were raised when a burning body was discovered in Gregg County near Kilgore, and Barb will tell you a little bit more about that body and who it was and how it was discovered.
October 29th, 2006, two men walking through an oil field in Kilgore, Texas, encountered a burning pile of wood with what they thought was a mannequin. Closer inspection discovered it was a young woman. They ran to alert the police. Now, this was within 3 weeks of Brandi Wells' disappearance and 7 miles from where her car had been found. She was nicknamed Lavender Doe by the internet because she had been wearing a light purple sweater and jeans. She had $42 in her pocket and no clue to her identity. A forensic artist was brought in to do a rendering in the hopes that someone would recognize the woman. The rendering was first believed to be Brandi, even by Brandi's mom. But the dental records later disproved this. By this time, she had been dubbed Lavender Doe, and her case was growing cold. In 2013, her remains were exhumed to do a 3D clay rendering, one of the statues. With new images, posters went public again. In 2018, a possible breakthrough. Joseph Wayne Burnett was arrested and confessed to killing his ex-girlfriend, along with a bonus confession, Lavender Doe. Though he did not know her real name, his DNA was found inside of her.
Didn't he pick her up like in front of the Walmart?
Yeah, she was selling magazine subscriptions or something out in front of the Walmart, and she approached him about it, and he snarkily said no, he would exchange, if she gave him sex, he'd give her the money. So they went to his car, and he said later that he killed her because she tried to rob him. But he left the $42 in her pocket because she had earned that. It's pretty cat.
This again is all speculation.
Yeah.
But kind of a side note, the Walmart that she was in front of was actually the Walmart that Brandi was getting ready to start working at.
Right.
So another coincidence in this case.
Also in 2018, DNA Doe Project took on the case. Margaret Press, a DNA genealogist, co-founded the DNA Doe Project with forensic genealogist Dr. Colleen Fitzpatrick in 2017. They pooled their specialties to form a new way of sleuthing. Along with more than 45 volunteers, internet volunteers, plus retired cops, PIs, facial artists, anybody who was interested in cold cases and helping with them. Most were online followers of cold cases. As of 2007, there were 40,000 unidentified reported dead. By 2022, DNA Doe Project had solved more than 75 cases. When they tackle a case, they assign a team to gather all the online info, work with local PD on the case, get the case files, and raise the funds for the DNA tests that are usually runs about $1,400. They would have GoFundMe runs to because there were a lot of people who were fans of cold cases, following cold cases, and some of them would have their pet projects that they were doing their own internet looking at, and they were the ones that donate. Yeah, I want this one. Do this one next. They cannot use Ancestry.com or 23andMe. They have their in-house access sites. One of them, I think, is GEDmatch.com. The volunteers sign NDA forms to have access to the sites, etc. So it's not just random people. They're dedicated to this group. And the team worked Lavender Doe case and found a cousin 30 miles away. The cousin provided DNA for a better match, and Lavender Doe finally had a name, Dana Lynn Dodd, from Florida. She had been staying with the cousin on her way to California, but since the missing posters were only shown in Texas, Florida and California did not know she was missing. Now they get posters sent everywhere, to get nationwide. Since Brandi and Dana looked so much alike, it was speculated that the first girl in the club video may have been Dana, leading to theories that traffickers might have grabbed the wrong girl.
So, again, the connection between Brandi and Dana is insane. The connection. They were at the same place the same night. Supposedly, she was out front of the Walmart that Brandi was going to start working at. I mean, there's just so many coincidences that are looking more and more like not coincidences. Mm-hmm. That it truly was a misidentity. But we don't know. But the Dana connection to Brandi further highlighting the complexity and the uncertainty of this case. As with most cases, everyone has a theory of what might have happened that night to Brandi, and we're going to go over some of the more common ones and stuff. But again, this, as I say, this case, and I think it's just shocking how not only Dana Doe, whose case is still unsolved, and that of Glenda Moorhead, whose case is also unsolved, and Brandi's, whose is unsolved, 3 cases intertwined, none of which have been solved, all of which are connected in some way. It's one of those cases that is rare and is one that's also very intriguing and mysterious. But the first theory we have is some believe Brandi could have been the victim of a carjacking gone wrong. The theory is supported by the position of the driver's seat and the location of where the car was found. Now, I disagree with this particular theory because normally in a carjacking, they take the car and they leave the victim either dead somewhere. They don't want the person, they just want the car. We have the car, we don't have the person. So I have really to throw that one out. And people are like, well, how about the car being on the side of the road? I said, well, a lot of times in human trafficking, when you've got, they're canvassing a location, in this case, Graham Central Station, they have a person who's the spotter who watches the crowd, looks at all the people there, both male and female, and figure out, kind of look like, okay, this is the one that we want, and they hand it off to the two that are also there, that are there to abduct their victim, their chosen one.
Mm-hmm.
And once she's abducted or he's abducted, they toss the keys to the spotter. The spotter waits until the facility closes down, sees the last couple of cars, and like, here's our car, and then takes it somewhere and ditches it, which is what looks like this particular situation. Whether or not that's what happened, we don't know. But there are too many similarities in other human trafficking cases that I've looked at that were legitimately human trafficking cases where something similar has transpired. The second theory is, given Brandi was short of gas and she was asking those at Grand Central Station for gas money, some believe she could have met with foul play after running out of gas on the highway. This is further supported by the fact Brandi's car was facing the direction of Tyler, where she was planning on staying the night. As for this one, I agree with part of it. She did make herself a damsel in distress and an easy victim and a victim of opportunity by saying she needed gas money. Because as the spotter is looking there, they're looking for those that are not with somebody else, that are alone, that are going to be easy pickings. And she said, by asking for help, she may even ask the spotter for money. We don't know that.
Yeah.
And by doing that, she basically put a big old target on her back, saying, take me. I'm the perfect thing. She shouldn't be. If you are stuck in, the ladies out there, if you are stuck in the situation where you're low on gas and you don't have the money, you can ask the bartender, or on the back of everybody's driver's license in every state, there's the phone number for the state troopers. Every state has them. You can call them and they will come and bring you gas or bring you to a gas station and ensure your safety. So that's a better and more safer method than going into a club and asking people who you don't know for money and giving yourself away and taking your safety away. She just literally took her safety away, which is never a good thing, especially in the area in which she was. I also, again, I think that she, was very determined to get there to Graham Central Station. It was more of, there was something going on that made her want to get to Graham Central Station that night, regardless of how much gas she had, regardless of anyone who could come with her. Her friends had said no. Her mom and sister had said no. With
the gas situation, she could have gone to the Tyler Club, the Electric Cowboy, and had fun, go dancing. But this all pointed to, she needed to get to that particular club.
This was in the beginning of, around 2006, and this is when chat club or chat groups or chat rooms or whatever were very big. And so she may have met somebody online and they made the arrangement of meeting up on here, and that's why she was trying to bring a friend to have that safety. But when the friend, nobody could come, I'm going to go anyways because I want to still meet this guy and he can probably give me gasoline. And she basically walked into a web. And that's what also very common in human trafficking and kidnapping and stuff, is online predators will coerce young women and children to meet them in places and get to know them. And, they have a way of feeding their victim and saying, oh, you're beautiful, you're everything, knowing their victim and knowing what their victim wants to hear, because they pick on a certain type. And they basically lure them in and get them to meet them someplace by themselves. Don't tell your mom, don't tell your dad. And then she was taken. And they get to meet up with whoever it is they're talking to and find out it's not who that they thought this person was, and they're taken. So, that could have been a very big possibility in this. And then this could have been part of the ring, the sex trafficking ring. That's a lot of times how sometimes they work as well. So there are many possibilities. And then, of course, number 3, those in Brandi's family and online sleuths, as well as myself and Barbara, believe Brandi could have been kidnapped and forced into prostitution. The area where she disappeared is known for both drug and sex trafficking, and as is the area where her cell phone was found. So both areas where she was were known for very high of both. And, police knew about this. I know Graham Central Station ended up closing down because of all the hype of all the missing people, and the building is now owned by the Electric Cowboy, which was the club in Tyler.
Tyler. So it's just next new location.
New location. So, those are the three big theories. I believe personally that it was sex trafficking that she was taken for. It just fits the area and the situation, and she made herself vulnerable by telling people she needed gas. So, do I blame her? No, because she was young and naive and probably didn't realize the danger she was truly putting herself in. I blame the bad guys for taking advantage of her. It's sad, but unfortunately it does happen in a lot of places. That's why I always say be observant of your surroundings. Are you being cased? Are you somebody watching your every move? Are you being followed? These are things, if you are at a club that late at night, have the bartender or the bouncer walk you to your car if you're there by yourself. You have to be there by yourself. I would never advise a woman to go into a nightclub by herself. Nowadays it's just too dangerous. Too many sickos and wackos out there, trying to be men when they're acting like boys.
Yeah.
It's a bad situation. So please protect yourselves. But in the aftermath of all this, the police say the case is still open. They haven't received any new leads as of yet. New leads as of late. But they continue to investigate each one as they're called in. In this perplexing case, no official suspects have ever been named. We got persons of interest, but no suspects. The investigation into her disappearance remains ongoing, an active pursuit for law enforcement. Authorities have tirelessly followed leads and have collected evidence in their relentless quest to bring closure to this troubling case. However, despite exhaustive efforts, circumstances surrounding Brandi's vanishing have yielded frustratingly few concrete leads. And despite the years that have passed, the frustrations and the frustrations she has encountered, Brandi Wells' mother, Ellen Tant, continues to hold on to hope that Brandi will be found, eventually found and returned in one way or another. But until then, she is determined to keep searching for her daughter alive, driving around with missing persons flyers in her car, and remains a steadfast advocate in her daughter's case. Her enduring hope is a testament to the strength and resilience of a mother's love. Her unwavering determination to find out what happened to her daughter has driven her to be critical of police investigation, which I had spoken to earlier, because of the cell phone, because of the video footage, the car. These are criticisms that she has, that why didn't they do this, why didn't they do that, and unfortunately, because of the restrictions that the police are under, they could only do so much at the time with the evidence that they had, and continue to gain. They can only do so much, and as more and more tips they go on, the more and more they'll investigate, and maybe one of them will lead to what happened to Brandi. But she's been very critical, saying that they mishandled it from the very beginning. But like I said, she needed to look at the big picture and say that, wait a minute, that phone, that video, all of them were like basically, a list of errors that it was comedic errors. It was ones that just could not be helped. It was because of the circumstances and the situation, it was automatically assumed. I think anybody would have assumed if they seen the phone in there with the person, that would have been her phone. Yeah. Or that way they looked so similar, that would have been Brandi. Or, because not everybody knew what she wore that night. Or the car being left on the side of the road. There's just so many things in this case that people think that the police should have handled better when they handled it the best they could with what they had. The fact that the Longview police have received tips about the case and yet Brandi Wells remains missing has also been a criticism. But again, the police can only search and investigate based on the evidence that they have at hand. And if they don't have the evidence to point to her, they're not going to find her. That's why leads and tips are so vital sometimes to solving cases, in particular missing person cases. Because another thing with missing person cases is that people are free, adults are free to go and disappear as they choose. And when they don't have a body and they don't have a lot of evidence, they can assume that that person, even though there might be some circumstantial evidences that something bad might have happened, and that she still could have wandered off on herself. Now, do I believe that? No, I believe something actually did happen to Brandi. But without the evidence to prove such, they have to, they can only go with what they can go on. So, that's why tips are so important. But the fact that she does remain missing only adds to the complexity and the heartache of the situation. Despite these challenges and setbacks, Allentown refuses to give up. She has actively kept her daughter's case in the public eye and has garnered support from various groups and individuals who share her determination to find answers. Allentown's hope is a beacon that continues to shine even in face of adversity and uncertainty. The love of a mother and the quest for justice can remain undiminished. Her tireless efforts serve as inspiration and a testament to the enduring hope that one day the truth about Brandi Wells' disappearance will come to light, providing closure and solace for her family. As of 2024, the case of Brandi Wells' disappearance remains open, marking nearly 2 decades since she's vanished without a trace. The enduring mystery continues to raise questions about the effectiveness of law enforcement's efforts and the profound challenges posed by missing person cases. Again, I say missing person cases are probably some of the toughest cases to solve because majority of the time, there is so very little to go on. And when it's adults, it's even tougher because they have the ability to disappear as they choose. So it is very hard to solve. And with children, the hardest one is stranger abductions because it's a stranger. You don't know where they're going to go. You don't know who took them. I mean, we have the Amber Alert and other things to help with that, but it's still, they're so hard to find, to solve because with such little information to go on. That's, again, why tips are so important. And witnesses who see things or know things to come forward. It's extremely important. But, Ellen continues to be a driving force in the search for answers. She has tirelessly distributed flyers and maintains a public presence, determined to keep Brandi's story in the public eye. Her being missing still casts a long shadow over the lives of those who knew and loved Brandi. The enduring mystery continues, and it's so challenging to solve missing person cases. And despite the passage of time, the case does remain unsolved, and that's unfortunately casting a long shadow over the lives of those who knew her and loved Brandi. And unfortunately, not just with that family, but with every family with missing people. They live with this day in and day out for the rest of their lives and until they get closure. I have seen families who have children that are missing, and their homes become literal shrines to their child. You can walk into their home, and their rooms will be as if the child just left that morning. From the unmade bed to dirty underwear on the floor. I mean, it doesn't be touched. Even a pair of shoes that might be in the middle of the living room doesn't go touched. I mean, it's amazing how...
Time capsule.
It's like a time capsule. How it is so profound and affects so many lives. Not just that of the family, but that of the community. Brandi Wells. There's one that we're going to be doing soon with Morgan Nick. Amber Hagerman up in Arlington. There are so many of them whose disappearance has affected the community in which they live. People remember where they were when they heard about them, and they just wonder what happened, and it changes the community. The community kind of gets tighter and less trusting, and it's a whole process. Unfortunately, also because the police haven't been able to find her and solve the case, criticisms of the police investigation has underscored the family's unwavering determination to unravel the truth behind Brandi's disappearance. Again, we have spoken, a lot about the criticisms from the cell phone to the video to the car, and to general criticisms that police get in any missing person's case. Why can't you find my child? Why can't you find my loved one? Why couldn't you have been faster? Why couldn't you found them faster? And again, it's all timing. It's all, the police have to get there. They have to find out what's going on. Then they have to figure out, okay, where did they go? Who did it? And, in this case, unfortunately with the dolls, you have to wait a certain amount of time, which is now changed by certain laws as well. So, I mean, it's a process. It's a situation, and unfortunately, police get a lot of criticism for it, and I think sometimes it's an unnecessary criticism. People just stop and think about it. They can see that the police are trying everything that they can do to solve this, and sometimes lack of evidence can keep them from having that. But again, the fact that the case remains open after all these years speaks to the complexity and elusiveness of the circumstances surrounding her vanishing. Brandi Wells' disappearance continues to be a haunting mystery, a puzzle that defies closure. The passage of time has not dimmed the resolve of those who love her to find answers and bring peace to her story and justice to her. Their unwavering commitment serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring impact missing person cases have on families and communities left searching for answers. Because people think, oh, it affects the family. No, it affects the whole community. And they will continue to look for answers years and years and years and years and years and years until the answer is resolved. They may not be looking as hard as the family does, but they still on anniversaries and in certain times they'll continue to look, or they may see somebody, oh, it looks like so-and-so. I'm going to call the police and give a tip. So, it affects the community. It changes the way the community works. And it's sometimes sad to see the changes when people were so open and felt they were safe. Now that this person's missing or this child is missing, close ranks and everybody,
especially in small towns.
Yeah.
Where most everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. So that's even scarier because, growing up in a small town, spending time in Cuba, Kansas, and Belleville, Kansas, which is in Republic County, Kansas, where my grandparents and my family are from. I spent a lot of time there, and it's scary. There was a neighbor and good dear friend of my grandmother's, Gladys Knedlick, who had been murdered on her farm. And everybody knew Gladys. Everybody knew everybody in the area, and everybody was pointing fingers, and it became almost World War III, because everyone was, well, I know you did it, or maybe you did it, or you had this, or who, it became the whodunit. And, when it comes to missing persons, it's even worse because they don't know where that person went, and everybody's guessing, and everybody's blaming and pointing fingers. So it does affect communities in not so many good ways. And again, the case of Brandi remains shrouded in mystery, the numerous twists and turns that have confounded investigators and her loved ones. Despite extensive efforts to uncover the truth, her fate remains unknown, a haunting mystery and a puzzle that has defied resolution despite the best efforts of law enforcement and the enduring hope of her family and friends. Her disappearance serves as a stark reminder of the complexities and the uncertainties that surround missing person cases, leaving all those involved in a state of profound and painful uncertainty. And that's the other thing, is a lot of times you've got families with missing persons, they don't move. They don't, they're like, their life stands still and stops the moment that person disappears. They cannot move. Most of them cannot move on. They live in the same house. They do the same routine, hoping against hope that their loved one will find their way home. So they don't move and don't change anything. Yeah. And it's sad that this happens. And that's why I want to do this. I wanted to do this show, to get the stories out there, to find closure, help in finding closure for these families so they can get out of that stigmatism and be able to live life again and to find joy and happiness again. That is what the least thing that we can do, by providing tips and keeping observant and helping out when situations like this arise, to help these families, and helping aid in finding closure for these families. That's the ultimate gift that we can do. It's everything about it, from the challenges the investigators have faced, from the anguish of the family to the intricate nature of the missing person case, the other two that were involved in her. The whole case has just been, it's crazy, and it's just heartbreaking, and it's mysterious, and it's confusing, and, it's never led to anything, but the police keep trying, they keep searching, and they keep looking, and hopefully one day somebody will bring a tip forward that will ultimately bring closure. That's what we can hope. But as a quick reminder, we're going to leave you with this thought about Brandi. As a quick reminder, Brandi Wells went missing from Longview, Texas on August the 3rd, 2006. She was 23 years old and was last seen wearing a floral print blouse, brown or black pants, and black strapless high heel sandals. At the time of her disappearance, she was 5 foot and weighed approximately 120 pounds. She has brown eyes and light brown hair. Her ears are pierced, and currently her case is classified as endangered missing. If alive, she would be about 36 years old. And you can find her image of her on anywhere on the web. Just type in Brandi Wells, and you can see an age-progressed photo of her and what she may look like today. So again, please, if you have any tips, please notify the police. Anything helps. Doesn't matter. Even though it's 20 years old, any little thing can be the answer. If you were at that club that night and you saw Brandi and somebody, you saw somebody like following Brandi or be really kind of monitoring her every movement, let the police know. If you saw her in that parking lot, let the police know. If you were driving by on I-20 and you saw her car being pulled over to that shoulder and you saw somebody get out of that car and then get into another car or walk away, please let the police know. Your answers could be the one that could bring Brandi home. So please, 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 if you know anything at all, please call. The numbers will be listed below.
And you can do it anonymously.
Yes. So, again, we thank you for listening and taking the journey with us as we delved into Brandi's case. If you have any tips or information about Brandi and what happened to her, please call the numbers that we have listed below. They're for the Texas Rangers, for the Longview Police Department, for the State Police Department, and for the District Attorney's Cold Case Unit, who are also investigating this case. The numbers will be listed below, as well as the ones where you can call anonymously. Also, if you are interested in the Doe Network, their information will be listed below, the webpage that you can go to. You can submit your DNA through their system, and it may be matched to somebody that's in their system. Or if you are missing a loved one, whether it's male or female, they have a list of all the Does and Jane Does they have. You can look and see if maybe somebody might match your missing person, your missing loved one. So please take a look. Please, go look at that. It's very interesting. All the cases of missing people, and maybe somebody you as you look through it, maybe it's somebody you might recognize. Like, oh, maybe that's my aunt, that's my uncle, that's my friend who used to live down the street. Who knows? So please take a look at that. Donate your DNA. Help solve some cases. You may never know. It could be a long lost relative you don't even know about. Your cousin 3 times removed, or by marriage, or whatever. Mm-hmm. You could help. So please do that. And remember, you can call and give your information anonymously. And you can also give, when you're doing this, they could do it very professionally. They don't give out your information when you do it to the network. And also, if you want to give a tip to the police department, you can do it anonymously. You don't have to give out your information, but at least give the information of what you know. Every tip and every bit of information can lead us closer to finding closure for Brandi's family and for any of the families of any of the cases that we do here. So if you know any answers to anything we've presented, please call. You never know. Finding Brandi and bringing those guilty of taking Brandi to justice is our priority, and bringing closure to her family. So if you know something, please call. It's not too late. Anything can help. Anything is, anything small, anything big, anything at all can help. So you never know. So please call. Next time we have another riveting case for you. That of 16-year-old Carly Guzet of White Mountain Estates area of Chalfont Valley in Mono County, California, who disappeared October 13th, 2018, and has never been seen since or again. It's another intriguing case that I came across just recently. It's one that is, when I first heard about it, I was like, no way. And then I went back and looked at it again, and I'm like, oh, how does that happen? There's just so many twists and turns and speculations and everything, all the circumstances surrounding it. I'm like, why didn't they do this? There's a lot of, intrigue and finger pointing and mystery and mystique about her case. So hopefully you'll tune in next time. We'll have that be dropping here in a couple of weeks. And again, we apologize for a delay in this video not dropping. We were supposed to. We had personal problems. We had a child with the flu, so that kind of delayed filming, being able to film in the home, and we've got sick kids. A sick kid, a sick wife, sick husband, all of us were sick. So, but we're over the flu, we're all healthy, back on the track and back on the cases to bring them back out to you. So, again, this one should be dropped in the next couple of weeks. Carly will be a couple of weeks after that. So please like, subscribe, comment below, and that way you can click on the little bell and you'll get notified whenever our cases drop, so you can watch them at your leisure. Again, we thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for your support. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If you have any cases that you would like for us to cover in your part of the world or your country, or county or state, wherever you are, please comment below, and please mention if we are allowed to use your name or handle if we choose to use your story. So, who knows, maybe the next story we do might be the one that you recommend. Never know. We do look at these cases, and we do take each one of them seriously. So you never know, it might be yours next. But, again, please like, subscribe, comment, and that's all we have for you today. Our next episode about Carly will drop hopefully in the next 2 weeks. That's our plan, knock on wood. Hopefully nothing else will happen. Anyways, please stay safe. Please, everyone, stay safe out there. Remember to be observant of your surroundings and of those around you. Take care out there. You never know what's out there. This world isn't safe anymore, so please watch after yourself. Watch after those you love and care about, and just take care. So until the next time, I'm Juliana.
I'm Barb.
Signing off. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.